Next, let's look at the timeline. So I have that perfect circle that we created in the last lesson. I'm actually going to turn off the stroke just by changing the pixels to 0. And I'm also going to add my kangaroo photo back onto the timeline, just dragging it beneath my circle. Cool. So we already learned how to zoom in and out of our timeline just by dragging this top bar or by zooming in down here. You'll also notice that there's this other work area bar. If I press the space button, it's going to play through all 5 seconds of this composition. And you'll see that After Effects is automatically set up to just repeat, to loop the play. So it's going to continuously keep playing. And that's because in After Effects, often we're creating these little animations and we just want to see it over and over to see how it looks, instead of having to press the play button over and over. What if we were creating some sort of animation at the very beginning of this, and say this is just a basic animation where our circle pops on? Well, how do we do that? We can just drag this shape layer over to the right, and you'll see that now it's off at this time. And then if we drag through, it's on. Now, that's not really an animation. We're going to be covering how to actually animate things in the next section, so coming right up. But now, if I play through this, it's going to pop on right there. Let's make it a little later, at 10 frames, for example. Go back to the start. Okay, play there. Now, it takes a while for it to go through the 5 seconds and then go back to the start again. Say we want to zoom in on this time frame, for example, the first second, more easily. Take your work area bar, and now we can drag this in to 1 second, for example, and you can see that it's highlighted. Now, if I take my time indicator and I move it into this work area, then I press the space bar, you can see that it loops the play just for this area of the workspace, which is super beneficial as you create your more intricate graphics. One other use for this, let me bring back our video clip. So let me bring in this video sample. And then a quick way to create a composition based off the size and settings of your actual media asset is just to drag your media asset into the composition button right here. You'll see that it created this video sample composition, and then down here, it's the right size, so it's the same aspect. It's also the right length. So it's all 2 minutes and 20 seconds of this video, which was a video for another class of mine. Say you have a video clip, but you only want to add graphics to a certain part of it. Say I want to add a title graphic right here between 5 seconds and 15 seconds. Well, I can take my work area bar and I can move this to around 5 seconds. And then I can take the end of it and move it to 15 seconds. And now if I zoom in just with this bar right here, and now I have this set up so that my work area is going from 6 seconds to about 15 seconds. You can see that if I click in the middle of this workspace bar, it moves the whole work area. To move the end in or out, you have to click on the end of the work area and then drag. So that's how you can sort of zoom in and work on a specific part of a clip. What if we want to actually just trim this whole composition to this specific part of the clip? Because as you're working on this project, you might not even need everything that's to the right of this sort of work area. If you go up to composition, then choose trim comp to work area, what happens is it trims it to that work area that we had set up. So now it's just that 6 seconds to 15. Now we can't go ahead and zoom back out from this. You see that now our zoom bar, if we use this, it just allows us to zoom in and out from that 6 seconds to 15 seconds. So that's one thing to note. We can, of course, undo this, or we can go back to composition and our composition settings, and now you'll see that the duration is 9 seconds. Say we want this to go for 10 seconds. If I put in 10 seconds and then click OK, then I zoom out. Okay, here's another thing with your timeline. Look what happened. At the end of this video clip, you'll see that, this video clip actually disappears. You can see that there's this little cut point right here. And that's because in the previous part, we went to composition, trimmed comp to work area. It actually trimmed this media clip or the video clip to the comp area as well. So to extend this, what we can do is just hover over with our mouse over this end of the layer and drag to the right. Now, if we go through and scrub through, this video plays through till the end of our work area. One keyboard shortcut that I like and is really helpful is the Command left or right bracket shortcut. For Windows users, it would be Control left or right bracket. So if I press Command and then I press right bracket with the kangaroo layer selected, it actually moves this layer up. I can choose the Command left bracket to move it back down. So this is how you can reorder layers just on your keyboard. All right, that's a lot with the timeline over here on the right, but there's all of these buttons over here on the left. And we'll be going over all of these things in future lessons as they become more applicable. But the things I want you to know are, first, on the very far left is this little eyeball icon. And you have these different columns with these buttons where if you check on or off, it includes that little icon. So to turn off this layer, which is what the eyeball icon is for, you can just press that eyeball for the layer and it makes it basically disappear. It turns it on or off. We don't have any audio in these clips, but we do in the video sample. And that's what this next column is, the audio. And so if you want to turn on or off audio for a specific layer, just turn that audio on or off with that column. Back to our other composition. I'm going to move my time indicator to this point where we have both layers. This next column is to solo layers. And this might be more beneficial or easier to understand if we have more layers. So let me duplicate this shape layer 1. To quickly duplicate a layer, instead of going up to our shape tool and creating another layer, we can select it in our timeline and press Command D or Control D for you Windows users. Or you can also copy and paste by selecting it, pressing Command C, and then Command V. That's Control for PC users. So from now on, if I ever say Command, it's typically going to be Control for PC users. Sometimes it's different, and so you might be confused, and you'll have to go up to the Help Keyboard Shortcuts menu to find out what it is, or you can always ask me in the Q&A tab. And I'm just going to move this layer over to the right. So now we have 3 layers, and this solo option allows us to basically make only one of those layers appear. So if I click solo shape layer 1, only this layer appears. Same if for the kangaroo, it makes all the other layers disappear automatically. And this is beneficial if you have projects where you have dozens or hundreds of layers in a single composition, which actually has happened to me in the past, and you want to really just see one layer, you can use that solo button. The lock button right here locks this layer, so now I can't move it around. You'll see that it does this little highlight when I try to click it, and I can't do anything to this layer. And that's beneficial if you're done with the layer and you don't want to do anything, mess it up, move it around, just click the lock button. To the right, you have this drop down arrow, and so you see that if I click this, it drops down more options. We're going to be covering these things, which are more properties for each layer, in the next lesson. So I'll just skip over that for now. The next is this color option, and this is the color of your layers. So you see that the photo layer was automatically this purple color or this violet, and then the shape layer was this blue. If you want to customize the color of your layers, you can click that color block and then change the color. And this is helpful for organizing your compositions. Say you have, again, a bunch of layers, you want to make sure that you can easily find the right layer. And if you know that, hey, all my red layers are text layers, for example, which this isn't, then it's easier to find that. The source name is the name of your layer. If you click that source layer text up here, it changes to the layer name. And this is how you can actually rename your layers in your timeline to be more organized. So instead of shape layer 1 and shape layer 2, which can get confusing in the long run, what I would do is I would select shape layer 1 and then press the return key on your keyboard. that highlights this title. And now I can call this circle 1 or blue circle. Then if I go to this second layer and I change the color by going up to the fill, changing it to red, clicking on the title, pressing return, and then call it red circle. This is just an easier way to, again, navigate, making you more efficient. And that's pretty much as far as I want to go today in this lesson. I know that this lesson and the past lessons, it's more of that, hey, Phil, we're just going to go around, go through all the menu options. This is boring. But don't worry, the next few lessons are going to get a little bit more interesting. We're going to start animating very soon. We just have to cover the basics right now. So I hope you're learning. I hope you're understanding. If I'm going too fast, please let me know. If I'm going too slow, please let me know, but also be a little patient because there's other learners who are starting from scratch and need a little bit more information. Thanks so much for watching, and in the next lesson, we'll go over more of the layer options that are within each of these layers.